My third question in the Yakub Memon case as he was hanged to death is, when will we stop playing politics over terror? Because the moment Yakub was executed, we had different political parties raising their voice, from the Congress to the MIM to the BJP and the left. All of them had their own views. Take a look.
The merits of any individual case are not the issue. That is for the Supreme Court to decide, and the Supreme Court has done its work. What I have said is that the principle and practice of the death penalty is questionable. And there I continue as a personal individual conviction to believe the death penalty is wrong, that it has been very arbitrarily and unevenly applied in our country, that the overwhelming evidence against the death penalty, as late Dr. Abdul Kalam pointed out, socioeconomic biases coming through, the arbitrariness in many judgments, the uneven application of the death penalty. The overwhelming evidence is this has not served society well, and it has had no deterrent effect. There is no correlation between the death penalty and preventing crimes or preventing terrorism. So it is actually neither morally justifiable nor is it effective in serving the purposes that people claim it's supposed to serve.
The irresponsible statements which have come from some of the Congress party leaders with regard to the punishment given to the principal accused of the 1993 Mumbai blast also raises a cause of concern. We therefore expect the Congress President, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, to clarify before the whole country and to explain how its leaders, some of them have come out with contrarian statements with regard to the punishment given by the judicial process in the 1993 Mumbai.
The big question is the death penalty debate, which has been revived after the execution, the hanging of Yakub Memon. Joining me now, Shashi Tharoor, former minister and member of parliament of the Congress, who's in a sense struck, some would say a discordant note, others would say he struck a brave note. And joining me also, Nalin Kohli of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Appreciate both of you joining us, but Shashi Tharoor, to you first, because you have tweeted, and I'm going to quote, "Saddened by news that our government has hanged a human being. State-sponsored killing diminishes us all by reducing us to murderers too." Now that's a brave statement, some would say, to make in the present atmosphere, but others would say, where was Shashi Tharoor when Afzal Guru was hanged? Where was Shashi Tharoor when Ajmal Kasab was hanged?
In exactly the
Are
same
you playing
place.
politics?
In India today, India today wrongly said that I was silent on Afzal Guru. I was not. I was equally critical, and I made the same points then, and it was one of my many controversies. So you guys create controversies for me and then forget that I've been in them already. This is a consistent position I have long held. I have opposed the death penalty. I've been critical of its application, and I had very good reasons for so doing. You talked about a discordant note or a brave note. I would simply say it was a humane note. What I'm talking about is the fact that the death penalty is now a thoroughly discredited method of retributive punishment. It has no deterrent effect, which is what punishment is supposed to ensure. It does not protect society. What it does essentially is the state starts playing the eye for an eye game. He has killed people, therefore we should kill him, which completely goes out of the context of what state-mandated punishments are all about.
But the fact, Mr. Tharoor, with due apologies, sir, it's on the statute books. With due apologies, Mr. Tharoor, the death penalty is on the statute books. As long as it is on the statute books, surely a terror attack will fall within the rarest of rare cases. And therefore, as the Supreme Court would argue, it was a punishment that was befitting the crime. And therefore, once the Supreme Court of the country has
Rajdeep,
given a ruling for you then to now try and revive the death penalty, many will say, why is Shashi Tharoor doing so? You are a member of parliament, you're going against your party line, you've embarrassed your party.
No. Let me stress, first of all, that I have not made a comment on a specific case. The case was merely the occasion at which this whole issue was being debated. But I have said that as far as the merits of the case are concerned, that is for the Supreme Court to determine. They have gone through their process, and I don't challenge them and their findings. What I'm talking about is the principle of why such a law should exist in our country. As a member of parliament, I'm entitled to have a view on the laws of our country. And I believe this is a law that needs to be abolished.
Sir, you have a view, but we are not...
tomorrow in the Rajya Sabha, one of the MPs is actually proposing such a change.
Sir, you certainly have a view, but you are not in an, dare I say, in an Oxford Union debate anymore. Now you are in a situation where Yakub Memon is hanged in the morning. Within an hour or two of that, you tweet this. Surely it is related to Yakub's case, and therefore it will be seen that Shashi Tharoor has chosen to take a stand, which perhaps is not the stand of your party. Your party hanged Afzal Guru, your party hanged Ajmal Kasab. So it's not as if the Congress has had a principled position on the death penalty.
I didn't claim to be speaking for my party, Rajdeep. I made it very clear I'm speaking as an individual. Conscience is an individual matter. I don't think parties can collectively have a conscience. I think each individual speaks to what his own core beliefs are, and I believe the death penalty is wrong. But it's also wrong because it's ineffective. There are statistics proving that there is no correlation between the death penalty and deterrence. There are statistics demonstrating, that decade by decade statistics that show that in years when people have been hanged, 10 years, 10 people hanged from 80 to 90, 8 people hanged from 90 to 2000. On both those decades, murders went up. From 2000 to 2010, only one person has been hanged, and yet murders went down.
If there is no evidence that that the death sentence in a way, or this kind of retribution in a way reduces crime and acts like a deterrent, at the same time the counter question comes on the humane angle that Dr. Tharoor is raising. What about the humane angle? For example, the latest person caught in Delhi as a serial rapist and murderer of 30 children, which perhaps affects 150 or people if you take the families collectively. So therefore the question comes here, somewhere closure, a rare of a rare. The same goes for terrorism. But let me
Mr. Nalin Kohli,
Yes,
the
Mr.
question that I asked you yesterday, I will then again raise that if you say that terrorism is rarest of rare and therefore deserves the death penalty, I could turn around and tomorrow say mass killings of the kind that happened in the riots of Mumbai of 92-93 also deserve the death penalty, of 2002 Gujarat, of 1984 Delhi. The fact is that in these instances of mass killing, there are no death penalties. Therefore, as Sitaram Yechuri of the left parties has argued today, there should be also similar punishment when it comes to the Mumbai riots. That time, let's be clear. Once we are going down the route of death penalty, then anyone who takes someone's life deliberately and wantonly, whether on the grounds of religion through a bomb blast or a riot, should face the death penalty.
Well, I mean, as I've said, it's not every conviction leads to a death penalty, and therefore that's basic jurisprudence. It is rarest of the rare. It starts from the Bachchan Singh case. Now we could have a whole discussion looking at how it has progressed over the years, how the Supreme Court has looked at it.
Do you think a riot deserves the death penalty? Do you think someone who kills someone, do you think, sir, if someone kills their neighbor in a riot, does it deserve the death penalty in your view?
And spirit of what you are trying to ask of me, but perhaps you may want to wait, because that answer will follow. I'm entitled to how I'd like to present it. So therefore, let me go back to what I was saying. In terms of the death sentence, now rarest of rare, there has also been in this country a few hundred probably cases that have been commuted. Now, let's come back specifically to the riots. Yes, anyone who takes any kind of life, breaks the law, eventually there is going to be some action against that person. Why restrict it only to 84 and 93? You can extend it to every riot, because after all, a riot is not a pleasant situation, and it's a situation that shouldn't be there in the first place.
What is your view?
Innocent, my view, I'm coming on to it. Innocent women, children, others get killed in it. So therefore, if there is a direct correlation in someone wielding a weapon, killing somebody, those options the judiciary looks at.
What is your view, Nalin Kohli? Babu Bajrangi in Gujarat. Those who said in the Mumbai riots, we must kill and avenge.
Mr. Sardesai,
we must because the fact
I will answer this also with a specific thing on Gujarat.
Politicians who have instigated riots have got state funerals in this country. Politicians who have instigated riots have got state funerals in this country.
Journalists also can't get away by putting out information that's incorrect. And I wrote it in an article too. There was this whole thing said that a lady's womb was raped, the fetus was put out on a sword. The doctor who conducted that post-mortem immediately later said that there was no such thing. So therefore, I'll just say, we will not go by popular mandate. We will not go by what is popularly misconceived, misinformation in the market. What we can go by is hard evidence.
Right.
That is exactly how convictions take place. They don't take place on pronouncements and rhetoric.
Shashi Tharoor, do you believe that Yakub Memon's case is the right case to trigger this debate on death penalty? Is this the right time? There are two ways in which this is being looked. I raised the issue that Sitaram Yechuri has raised today, saying those responsible for the Mumbai riots, because most people believe the riots led to the blast. What about those who are responsible for the killings in the riots? Should they get the death penalty? There is also the question that an Asauddin Owaisi raises, where he seems to specifically focus on what he calls Hindu terror cases, which he claims are not being prosecuted. Are we opening a Pandora's box in the context of a death penalty debate, or do you believe this country is mature enough to handle a proper debate on the death penalty?
Well, I think a debate is overdue, and it's not, as I said, about the specific case, but because a hanging has occurred, it becomes an opportunity to raise the question of whether any hanging is right. I mean, Nalin talked about media exaggerations in recovering riots. Sadly, media also fans outrage when it comes to things like killing, and there is an unseemly bloodlust in the attitudes of some people when it comes to hanging somebody in this country. And I think that's unworthy of us as a society. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to be? This is a debate we've not had. It could take place in Parliament. It could also take place as a result of the forthcoming Law Commission report going to the Supreme Court. There could be a judicial process, there could be a political legislative process. The difficulty with the legislative process, frankly, is that the government of the day has a preponderant voice in determining what kind of law or change to the law comes to Parliament. Private members' bills of this nature will very rarely get through, in fact haven't got through for a very long time. And I'm afraid the attitude of my friend Nalin suggests that this government is not likely necessarily to be very sympathetic to changing the law. So we may need to go the judicial route. But to have a debate, to raise public consciousness, to get people to think is very important. This is an emotional day. When I made this point about death penalty, one of your colleagues on another channel put me face to face with a couple of victims of the riots. And you know, I share their pain. I don't want them in any way to have suffered what they've suffered. But sadly, hanging an individual is not going to bring back their loved ones, is not going to ease their pain or undo the 40 operations they've had to go through as a result of the bomb blast. So ultimately we have to ask ourselves whether retribution and revenge is actually going to solve any problem. No one can give me one single example of the use of executions actually having prevented a terrorist attack. Once the attack has taken place and the damage is done, what are we doing to ourselves as a society?
What is the perspective then of the Bharatiya Janata Party? Shashi Tharoor seems to indicate that the BJP is not interested in this debate on the death penalty. That the BJP believes in some way for a strong state, a state that must teach a lesson to the likes of Yakub Memon. Is that the view of the BJP? That this in a sense will ensure a strong message is sent to terrorists? Will it stop terror attacks in this country if a Yakub Memon has been sent to the gallows? Do you believe we are a safer society as a result of this one instance? Or is this simply politics that you played with an eye on a particular vote bank?
No, I don't think so. That's very unfortunate. It would be equally unfortunate to constantly question the Supreme Court, as far as I would like to put it on record, that the Supreme Court has been exemplary. It has, even for someone who was a terrorist and accused of being part of that entire thing for the Bombay bomb blast, it went up to even 2:30 a.m.
Will it stop a terror attack?
No, let me just
No. I asked you a question. Shashi Tharoor has raised it. I am also going to raise that one point. Does the BJP believe that the hanging of Yakub Memon will stop terror attacks in this country?
No,
do you believe this is the kind of tough message to be sent? Or do you believe, like Mr. Tharoor, the time has come for a full debate on the death penalty?
Well, I mean, with due respect, then perhaps maybe sending a whole bunch of roses will change the ISIS. I mean, there are different ways of looking at it. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'd look at it from another perspective too. Someone who has no remorse, somebody who's intent on killing, is only halted in killing, makes an escape, makes another killing. That kind of person is talking about, we are concerned about his rights or her rights, and thereafter, what about the rights of the victims? So this is a debate that cannot be so simply answered in a yes and no. What can be answered in yes and no is, are you hungry and would you like to have something to eat?
No,
Not
hold
something
on.
as complicated as
Does the BJP want a full debate of the kind that Shashi Tharoor is calling it for the death penalty?
No,
or do you believe that this is the wrong time to be calling for it?
Mr. Tharoor is in his rights to want to raise a question as a member of parliament, as a citizen of the country.
Does the BJP want to call for such a debate?
As far as we are concerned, I have no information whether the party or the government is even inclined at the moment or is considering in any manner any such discussion.
Okay.
So I can't really take that point in totality. Perhaps it could be, perhaps it may not. But in all fairness, I think the debate on the death sentence on Yakub Memon at the time now, and also the spectacle that's being made of it, that's something perhaps we need to reflect about also.
Okay, let's leave it there. Shashi Tharoor and Nalin Kohli.
Thank you.
Appreciate your joining us. Two clear views. Thank you very much for joining us here on India Today.